Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Dale Sports Edition. We were off last week, so I will talk about some of the games from last week. I'm going to talk about some college stuff first. Then we'll talk about the pros, and then we'll just talk about what happened the past 2 weeks as far as the World Series, MLS, and just National Football League in general. All right, so if you watched any of the college games last week, you had some decent matchups. You had TCU versus Texas Tech. It was a good game, back and forth because they always play each other good. TCU I haven't seen play that much this year. They were actually the point spread was 9.5. So when I saw 9.5, I'm going like, you know what, Texas Tech will probably hang in there. Well, the final score was 35-25. So I would have probably grabbed 11 points and won because 9.5. Anytime it's a half, I always try to grab a solid number. Like if it's 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, so on and so on. Texas Tech's coach should be fired, first of all. I understand going for fourth down, but not in your own territory makes no sense. You got the ball on your 35-yard line, and you're basically in this game. You're actually leading, and you're instead of kicking the ball away, no, you go for it. And then end up scoring. You end up losing. The reason why they lost by 10 points is because of that. So I don't understand that. That's why the record's at 500. Now I understand why it's 500. Now Ohio State played Northwestern. They were favored by, I think, 30. The weather was horrible. They were playing in Chicago. So if you took Northwestern in 35, you won easy. Final score is 21-7. The week prior, Ohio State played Penn State. And as you know, people, in college, I have two teams. I have Penn State and I have Notre Dame. And here's the problem with Penn State and Notre Dame, like I've been saying. I'm going to talk about Notre Dame in a minute, but let's talk about Penn State. So they played them last week at home in Penn State. Here's the thing with Penn State. When it goes against teams like, say, within their conference, which in their division, like Ohio State and Michigan. In the first half, they could hang in there because they're a physical team. But the main reason why they'll never beat teams like Michigan or Ohio State is they're physical, but they're not fast. The reason why teams like Alabama and Georgia are so good is because they're fast. That's why Georgia's number one. Alabama's won for the past couple of years because they're a faster team. So that's what usually happens, why Penn State and teams like Notre Dame cannot beat those kind of teams. Speaking of Notre Dame, this past weekend, they play Clemson. Now, Notre Dame at this time is 5-3, lost at home to teams they should have never lost to. But I look at it this way. This has to do with Oregon too. Okay, BCS, listen to this. Okay, you have a new coach, a new system, not used to the whole system. So, of course, they started off bad. So, this game I thought was interesting because I'm going like, okay, they're playing in Clemson. No, I'm sorry, they were playing in Notre Dame, and Clemson was favored by 4. So, I left it alone because I just didn't trust it. Shockingly, Notre Dame beat Clemson. I was shocked by this. But like I said, between when the season started, when they were like 1-3, to now that they're 5-3, the coach knows the players know the coach, the systems they understand. That's what happens. Oregon Ducks, perfect example. Everybody's talking about, well, they shouldn't be in the top 10 and other stuff. Well, first game of the season, they played the defending champions, Georgia, and they got their ass kicked. But here's the thing. Bo Nix, who for the past 2-3 years was the quarterback for Auburn, got transferred over to Oregon. What'd you expect? You pick any player, coach, quarterback, whatever. I don't care who it is, defensive coach, defense, whatever, that gets transferred from one college to another college. and the first game of the season you expect them to know everything, you're a fool. That never happened. Since then, Oregon's been beating up on everybody. So, so, so George is going like, well, you know what? We need you to do that too to help us out. So this past weekend, Tennessee played Alabama a week ago. Shockingly, Tennessee was losing 31 to 24 with about a minute to go. They get down to the 10-yard line, throws the ball in the end zone, interference, gets the ball at the 2, scores. So basically they're down 31-30, kick the extra point, and you go into overtime. They didn't do it. I was surprised. They went for the 2-point conversion, and they actually made it, surprisingly. So Alabama, first loss in a while. And then last week, Alabama again played LSU. Brian Kelly, who was the coach of my Notre Dame team, can never beat the top teams. Your Alabamas, your Georgias, your Ohio States. Goes to LSU, got a decent team. Not the greatest record at all. Alabama's basically, the game's back and forth. LSU, shockingly, goes for a 2-point conversion in overtime and wins, surprisingly. So Brian Kelly, you couldn't do it in Notre Dame, but you did it with LSU. Why not? So for the first time in a good couple of years, Alabama has 2 losses in 1 year. I'm trying to remember the last time that happened, and truth be told, I can't tell you. So right now, I would say, so Tennessee played Georgia, and because Tennessee beat Alabama, and they beat other teams within the conference, they were number 1. So this previous weekend, you had Tennessee number 1 playing Georgia, who was number 2. This was no contest. Tennessee was not ready for Georgia. That's why they're defending champions. They just blew them out. Wasn't even a contest. So right now, I would say my top 5 would probably be, number 1 would be Georgia. Number 2 would be Ohio State. Number 3, Michigan. Number 4, Oregon. And number 5, TCU's been getting no respect at all, but now that they finally beat Texas and a couple other teams, I say they're number 5. Number 6, I really don't know who number 6 will be, but that's my top 5. So that's it. So this weekend, you got TCU playing Texas. Both in the top 10. Like I said, TCU's, I think, in the top 5. Texas probably could be right behind them. So to me, whoever wins this game, more than likely is going to be in the top bowl games come New Year's Eve, like top 4. I say that. If TCU clears the table, I think they'll be in there. If they lose, then it's going to get interesting. So we'll see about that. All right, we got college out of the way. Let's talk NFL. Let's talk about the last week's games. Okay, you had a couple of good games last week. Now, what I've been saying about the New York teams, Jets and Giants, like I said, the Jets, again, not my team. Somebody that's hopefully going to watch this, it's their team and my nephew's team too. Hi, Russ. This team reminds me of a couple of teams, a team back like in the 90s. Because when it comes to New York teams in general, and even my Raiders, the way they win is ground and pound. What I mean is not much passing, just control the clock. Because I'll look at it this way. Remember, it's four 50-minute quarters. Okay? So to me, if you control the ball for, say, maybe 40 of that 60 minutes, chances are, I would say, maybe 8 out of 10 times you're going to win. So that's what Giant football is. Jets football is kind of like that, and the Raiders football. Raiders and Giants football to me has always been around the same thing. You know, these are teams especially specifically the Jets and the Giants, are not high scoring teams. I mean, I'm trying to remember when's the last time the Jets scored, I don't know, 40 something points when the Giants scored 40 something points? It's probably happened the past couple of years, but it's been a while. They win those 2017 games, 17-14 games, maybe 28-24 games, once in a while, maybe in the 30s. But when you're watching a Jet Giant game, most of the time I would tell people bet under because it's very rare they go over. If they do, it might be against a team that's a high, power team. Like say if the Jets win against Kansas City or the Giants win against Kansas City. Now Kansas City averages like 28 points a game. So even if the under is like 45 or 42, Giants are going to score at least 17. And the Jets too. Like if they would play, say, Kansas City, they would probably be that way too. But the main reason why they're both good right now is the defense. Now the Jets defense, especially this cornerback, Sauce Gardner. If you saw him in college, really good player. That's why I tell people. I understand, people love the NFL, but I tell this to anybody. One Saturday, just turn to a college game. Like this weekend, like I said, TCU is playing Texas. Watch this game. If you don't like it, then fine. Don't watch college anymore. But I'm telling you right now, if you want to know where your future players are coming from, especially in this game, there's two running backs that you should watch out for. They're very good. I'm telling you right now. You watch, and you're going to see who they are. Deuce Vaughn and Bijan Robinson. These guys, I don't know if they're coming out this year, but if they do, they're going to be at least two of the top 10 running backs coming out. One for TCU, one for Texas. Good matchup. I'll talk about that in a little while. All right. So like I said, going back to the New York football thing. So like I say, the Jets defense reminds me of in the 90s when they had the sack exchange. Gastineau, Klecko, Lions. They have that now with Hamilton and a couple other guys. Quinton Williams and so on and so forth. And the cornerback, that reminds me of Darrelle Revis. If you're a Jet fan, you know what I'm talking about. As far as the Giants, it's a combination of players. There's no outstanding guy there, but defensively, as a team, they're playing good. So, there's nobody that's, your next Lawrence Taylor, your Harry Carson, your Pepper Johnson. Nothing like that. But as far as running backs, yeah, Saquon Barkley reminds me of, Barber, Joe Morris, Otis Anderson. This is the way the Giants and the Jets, if they keep on playing the way they're going to play, they'll be fine. Right now, the Giants coming off a bye week, playing the Texans this week, which I'll talk about in a minute, are 6-2. Now let's talk about the Jets. So I said to everybody, if you remember the last time, for the Jets and Giants to be for real, you have to make that statement win within your division. Meaning my Giants have to beat either the Cowboys or the Eagles, who they haven't played yet. And the Jets, like I said, have to beat a team like Buffalo. I say if you beat Buffalo, okay. So if you watch the game over the weekend, the Jets were losing 14-3 midway through the second quarter. Just before the half, they scored a touchdown to make it 14-10, which was huge. So So basically, what happened was you go back and forth. Jets get the lead, score a touchdown because Josh Allen, I don't know what he was thinking, threw the ball and Garner again, best cornerback in the league right now. Definitely defensive player of the year, defensive rookie of the year right now, without a doubt. There's not even a contest there. Intercepting the Jets score to make it 17-14. Buffalo gets the ball back, ties it up. Jets get the ball back, go down. Allen throws another interception. I don't know what he was looking at this one. And to my shock and surprise, the Jets actually beat Buffalo. But if you saw the last play of the game when Josh Allen threw the ball deep, just trying to get something out there, he hurt his elbow. So now he's day to day. If he's going to play this weekend, nobody really knows. That's huge. Because Buffalo without Josh Allen, I don't know. I mean, Jet fans are going like, oh yeah, this is our division, but hold your horses. But one thing that I watched in this game, now if you watch a game close like I usually do, it seemed Buffalo took the gas off the pump for some reason. I don't know what it was. They're going like, you know what? We're 14-3. It's the Jets. Got nothing to worry about. Well, let me tell you something. The NFL, especially these days, don't do that. Okay? Because I'm going to talk about another team that seemed to do that and they lost too. And let's talk about that team for a second before I get to the picks. My Raiders, which hasn't had a good defense in over 20 years now. Okay, so they're playing the Jaguars, and they're winning 17-0 going into the second half. And I'm going like, okay. Devontae Adams is having a good game finally after last week doing absolutely nothing against the Saints. Got 2 touchdowns. Jacobs is doing okay. Carr's doing good. Well, here's what happened. The Jaguars came back and won. I don't know how. I know how because I said it all along. They don't have a good defense. 2 teams to watch out for this year and next year, going into next year. Watch out for the Jaguars. I'm not a Trevor Lawrence fan, but he seems to be getting better, which I'm kind of surprised because at Clemson, it was a system quarterback, and I go like, yeah, he's good for college, but I don't know about a pro quarterback. But so far, so good, it seems. It's like second year, and maybe he's figured things out. But defensively, they've always been a decent defensive team. And the Detroit Lions. If they get all the players back, because they've had a lot of injuries, but before that, they had a solid defense. So we'll see what happens with that. Okay, so yeah. So like I say, so this weekend. Oh, if you watched the game last night between Carolina and Atlanta, which has the worst division in football, it was played in the downpour. We're located in New York, and if you've been outside all day or look outside, it's been pouring the whole day. So I think the rain that came in the Carolinas came to us. Or we're getting the remembrance of whatever hurricane is out in Florida. Whatever. If you don't need to be outside, don't be outside. So yeah. So sloppy game. Carolina, P.J. Walker, who I saw playing the XFL, good quarterback. Here's what I don't get. You got P.J. Walker, who was your 4th quarterback. Baker Mayfield, who you got from Cleveland to be your number 1 guy, and Sam Darnold from the Jets, who basically is doing nothing. So they said Mayfield sit down. They said Arnold, well, he's injured all the time these days. So now your 4th guy is your 1st guy. Cam Newton, where are you? I don't know. Sloppy game. I tell you people once, I tell you so many times. When the weather conditions are sloppy, take the under. The chances of a game, especially if it's heavy winds and rain, this game should not go over. So the game last night was Atlanta was favored by 2.5 on the road, and the over and under was 41.5. At halftime, it was 13-3. So basically, for it to go over, they got to score basically 4 touchdowns. Well, that didn't happen. Final score was 23. What the heck was the final score? I forget what the score was. Well, they won under. Whatever. The final score was 25. Carolina 25, and Atlanta 15. Atlanta, I don't know. I mean, I heard they had the number 1 rushing. Well, that didn't show up last night. Well, Carolina had one of the worst defenses and one of the worst rushing offenses, and they had over 200 yards yesterday, while Atlanta had under 100 yards. You figure it out. It's football. So if you bet the under, you barely made it. At the end of the game, I thought they were going to score a touchdown, but thankfully they didn't. So let's talk about the scores from last week, and then we'll talk about what the picks are this week. So like I said, the Jets won underdog to Buffalo by 12 and a half. So we took the Jets. Again, they won 2017. Over and under was 47, so it went under. The Chargers played Atlanta. Chargers won 2017. Over and under was 49. That also went under. The Dolphins played the Bears. Surprisingly, a high-scoring game. I thought it was going to go under. Dolphins won 35-32. Over and under was 45, so obviously it went over. Point spread was 5, so it took the Bears. You actually won. Cincinnati went against the Panthers. Blew them out. Joe Mixon, who's my fantasy guy, 5 touchdowns, people. You heard it? Not 1, not 2, not 3 or 4. 5. So basically, Mixon beat Carolina all by himself. Final score 42-21. Don't matter what the over and under was. They covered. Point spread, they covered. Green Bay Packers 3.5 point favorite over Detroit. Now the Packers are a mess. Let's get this out of the way. Since trading Davante Adams, they have no clue. Aaron Rodgers. Now, like I said about college when I spoke about the quarterback with Oregon, and as far as basically knowing the system. Here's a perfect example in the National Football League. Randall Cobb, his main guy, is out. Davante Adams, they traded to the Raiders. Thank you for that. Hopefully it'll be better next year. And so Rodgers has no idea what to do there. They barely got a running game. Defense is not that great. Detroit coming over a big loss last week to New England. Didn't do much of anything. They showed up, and shockingly, Detroit won 15-9. You heard it, folks, 15-9. The Green Bay Packers, as you stand right now, are 3-5 and going absolutely nowhere. Why? Detroit won their second or third game, 1-1 last year. So Detroit, hopefully they'll get better. Over and under, well, it didn't matter. It was way under. Patriots and the Colts. Okay, the Colts have no quarterback. Matt Ryan, who they got from Atlanta, well, he's hurt. They brought in Ellinger, who's really nobody to speak of. They have no running game. They got their ass kicked 26-3. Nothing else to say there. Covered, over and under. Decent game. Minnesota Vikings traveling to Washington to play the Commanders. Whatever name they are these days. Good game, but Minnesota, who I like, and Cousins is my quarterback, won 2017. Over and under was 3.5. So if you took the underdog, you won. If you dropped to 3 with the Vikings, you got to push. So it depends how you looked at that. Spoke about the Raider game already. You got the Arizona Cardinals at home, favored by 2, over and under 49.5, playing Seattle. Seattle's the biggest surprise. Going into this game, 5-3. Arizona, the complete opposite. Arizona just looks out of sync. Murray doesn't look that good. The defense is horrible. Seattle, Geno Smith, after 10 years of playing, I think he finally figured it out. He finally got the right team, it seems. Watching all of these quarterbacks, Wilson and, Manning and other guys, I guess he learned something. Well, Seattle won 31-21. So right now they're at 6-3, first place. And San Francisco's right behind them at 4-4. So they'll be playing each other soon, so we'll see what happens with that. So we took Seattle with the points. You won, and the over and under was over because it was 49.5. Tampa Bay playing the Rams. This was pathetic. I've seen games in my life, but this is pathetic. Okay, both teams go into this banged up, looking like, I'll say it's shit. Tom Brady's looking like 45. Matthew Stafford's looking like 40 something. Defense is not that great. Offense is not that great. Field goal game. Rams finally get a touchdown. So going near the end of the game, it's 13-9 with under 2 minutes to go. No timeouts for Tampa Bay. The Rams can't stop anybody. Basically, it comes down to 10 seconds. They're down by Tampa Bay's down to the 3 or 4 yard line. And to my shock and surprise, Tampa Bay wins 16-13. The Rams, well, you might have won the Super Bowl last year, but you might not even make the playoffs this year. And the Rams, and Tampa Bay, not much better. They're 4-5, but they ain't looking that good. If this was any other team, except for the Rams, they would have lost. But here's the problem with the Rams. No pass rush. Now, the reason why Tom Brady's been good for so many decades is he's always had a good offensive line. To me, any quarterback, unless they're that bad and he has a very good offensive line, you're going to be good. They put no pressure. They did nothing to him. He just stood in the pocket like he was bored out of his mind. It was ridiculous. So, yeah. So, going into the game that I'm going to talk about, that the first time ever they're going to Germany, Munich, Germany. I'll talk about that in a second. Kansas City Chiefs. At home, 12.5-point favorite. Over Tennessee, over and under 46.5. When I saw this, I'm going like, okay, 12.5 is way too much. Tennessee, as long as you got Derrick Henry, you got a shot. You don't have your regular quarterback, but you know what? Kansas City's defense is not that great. So I figured, you know what? They'll hang in there at least. Well, Tennessee at one time was winning this game, but here's the thing that I'm going to talk about when we're talking about the top teams in football. Now, everybody talks about Buffalo, Kansas City. Basically, those are your two teams. Here's the difference between Buffalo and Kansas City. And here's the reason why I say Kansas City right now is the best team in football. Yes, I understand Philly's 8-0. But until Philly could play Kansas City and beat them, I don't care what their record is. Now remember what I mentioned about Buffalo? About putting, the pedal off the gas? Well, here's the thing with Kansas City. They'll stop you to the ground until you can't move. Okay? If you watch that game Sunday night, okay, the game was going into overtime. They had the ball at their 25 with like maybe 18 seconds to go or maybe one timeout. And I'm going like, okay, probably take a knee. No, Kansas City don't do stuff like that. So they threw the ball, and before you know it, they're down by the 40. Down by the 50. I'm going like, are you kidding me? I think 5 or 6 seconds to go. Tennessee, well, they did stop them, but you see how Kansas City didn't even want to go into overtime. Later on, they stopped Tennessee on defense, and they got the ball back, and they kicked a field goal. So if we took the 12.5, with Tennessee, you won easy. Over and under, easy. So that's it for those games. All right. Let's talk about the games for this weekend coming up. Okay, so like I said, the first time ever, NFL is going to Munich, Germany. You have Tampa Bay Buccaneers going against a surprise team this year. If you don't count the Jets and the Giants, Seattle Seahawks at 6-3, and Tampa Bay at 4-5. Okay, point spread surprisingly is Tampa Bay's favored by 3, and the over and under is 44.5. Seattle's got a decent defense, and it's 3 points. Now I always tell people if it's 3 points. If you want to grab another point just in case, I say grab another point. It might cost you a little bit of money, but I say grab it. So take Seattle getting the 4 points over and under. I say under. I'm looking at a 2017 game. Okay. Uh, you got the Giants at home coming off a bye. 5 point favorite playing the Texans over and under 41. Texans got a decent running back with Damon Pierce, who I watched the other day against the Eagles. Defense, nothing to go crazy over. 5 points is a lot to me because the Giants, I mean, they might cover it, might not. I don't know what to do with this one, but I say definitely if you're not sure about either team, just take the under. This is another game that maybe 21-17. Okay, you got the Buffalo Bills, favored by 3.5, playing Minnesota, over and under 45.5. Now, this could change because of Josh Allen's availability. If he doesn't play, that 3.5 could go to maybe 1 or pick him. So, this is a game that until you know the status of him, do not touch. Okay, you got Chicago Bears at home, 3 point favorite over Detroit, and the over and under is 48.5. That sounds to me a bit high. They're not, juggernaut teams as far as scoring goes. Justin Fields runs all over the place. I think might come close. 3, I could see 3. Again, that's a 3-4 thing. I'll take Detroit with 4 points, getting 4 points. Maybe 24-21, so they might come close to the total. Okay, Tennessee at home, 2.5. Playing the Broncos, 36.5. Right now the status of Russell Wilson is he's still not playing, so I don't know. Tennessee with the running game, I think they're going to probably run over them. So over and under, I'm not sure, but I could see maybe 24-13. So it'll be close with the total, but I see Tennessee winning 24-13. Okay, you got Miami, 3.5 over Cleveland, 48.5. Now, Miami coming over that crazy scoring contest, 35-32 over the Bears. This might be a little bit more interesting because Cleveland at least has something. Point spread being 3.5. Again, 3-4 points. 48.5, I say under. 21-17. Saints 1.5. Visiting Pittsburgh, over and under 40. Pittsburgh seems to be playing a little bit better now, being they know Pickett's the quarterback. Decent running game, defense without Watt, it's getting there, but I don't know. Saints on the road. If this was at home, I would pick them easy. But Andy Dalton, I don't know. And again, Pittsburgh, remember when he did play for Cincinnati, which wasn't how long ago. So being Tomlin's still the coach, he does know Andy Dalton. So I think Pittsburgh's going to win this game. So take the underdog, which is Pittsburgh. Take the... It's 1.5. So, take 3. Over and under, just leave that alone. Okay, my Raiders at home, 6. Playing the Colts, 42.5, the over and under. If the Raiders are ever going to win a game, if they're ever going to blow out everybody, this is it. Has to do it. 6 points, fine. No problem at all. Final score, 42-10. I'm joking, people. That's not going to happen. How about 35-10? Okay, stop. I know it's too funny. I know. Okay. Final score, I say 28-17 Raiders. Okay, next game, Cowboys visiting Lambeau Field in Green Bay. It's 5 points over and under 43. I'm not a Cowboy fan. This is it for the Packers. They lose this game, they're done. So can Aaron Rodgers step up? Can his defense step up? I say maybe. Over and under is 5. Give me 7 points. I don't know. 28-24 is my final. So the over and under, they'll go over. Okay, Rams coming off a pathetic loss to Tampa Bay, 1.5 at home, over and under 41.5 playing the Cardinals. So two teams coming off losses. This is same thing that what I just said about the Packers. I'm saying the same thing about the Rams. Okay, this is do or die. This is a big game for both teams. Because right now, Seattle is running away with the division. Everybody else is 500 or under. So this is whoever wins this still got a shot. Whoever loses it is done. So I'm gonna take the Cardinals. It's 1.5. So if you can grab 3, I'll lose some money over it. Go for it. So, and 41.5 should go over. So maybe 28-24. And the Sunday night game, we got San Francisco at home, 7 points over and under 45.5 against the Chargers. Okay, San Francisco is not a high scoring team, so I expect this game to go under. 7 points to me is a lot. Chargers play tough, so I would take the Chargers in the 7. I like San Francisco maybe 24-21. Okay, and let's talk about the game that's going to be following all of that. Eagles at home, 11 points favored over the Commanders, over and under of 44.5. Now, to me, when it's a divisional game, I like to take the points because usually it's rare they blow each other out. 11 points is a lot. So I would take the 11 with the Commanders. I still think Philly's going to win. Still stay undefeated. So I see 28-17, but that would mean 11. So I don't know. Over and under, like I said, it's 44. It's going to be close. So that's a tough one. So if you can maybe, I don't know, go to 12, but I say stay at 11. So maybe they'll win by 10. Okay, so that's that as far as that goes. All right, let's talk about what happened the past 2 weeks as far as baseball's concerned. Okay, about a month ago, I made a bet that the Houston Astros was going to win the World Series. I made that bet with PointsBet, and I made that bet with FanDuel. Not big odds, but still, whatever. Again, here's the thing with the Mets and the Yankees. The Yankees will never beat Houston, and my Mets will never beat Atlanta. Why is that? Simple. Comes down to one thing. Pitching. That's the problem. Until both teams can figure it out, they're never going to beat them. And if you watch the playoffs, not as far as my Mets because they lost to San Diego, but if you watch the Yankees, you saw what happened. Houston's a machine. Now, you're not going to blame anything else. No, stealing signals, no garbage trash cans, no bongo drums or whatever. Okay? So Houston swept them. To my surprise, yes. Did they beat them? No, no surprise. I figured 5 or 6. And Philly, to my surprise, got to the World Series. So like I said, the last time we spoke, I said all Philly teams are playing good, but here's the thing, and this is Philly. When they played the World Series, you had them playing good, You have the Eagles playing good right now, still playing good at 8-0. And MLS, you have the Philadelphia Union going to the playoffs. So, as you had it last week, uh, Game 5 and Game 6, and if you remember Game 5, Houston, their rookie pitcher, pitched a no-hitter. First no-hitter since the last time a pitcher pitched a perfect game was back when Don Lawson beat the Brooklyn Dodgers to win the World Series. And if you ever go back and watch the black and white clips, Yogi Berra just jumped up and just hit, jumped up like a baby trying to grab him. It's like, what's going on there? So yeah, so this kid, 25 years old, made history. So you got to give them that. I mean, it was a good series. So game 1 of the series, Philly took 6-5, came back for 5-0. Game 2, Astros woke up, 5-2. Game 3, Philly destroyed the Astros, 7-0. And then Game 4, sorry about made a mistake. Game 4, that's where the no-hitter was. So you get your ass kicked 7-0, you come back and win 5-0. Gotta love sports. Then game five, Philly comes back and wins. And then game 6, I'm sorry, Houston won game 5. And then game 6, well, you know the rest of that story. So in game 6, they were winning, Phillies winning 1-0 and 2-1. And then Alvarez hit a 3-run homer to make it 5-1. Here's the main reason why Philly lost. One day it rained, so instead of basically pitching Syndergaard, the next game they used their best guy, Nola. Well, here's the difference between Philly and Houston. They kept the pitcher they were going to use, they used. I mean, Verlander was scheduled to basically pitch the next game. That's what he did. So they used the other guys instead. That's why they won. But at the end of the day, well, the Bennett team won. So that Saturday, well, Philly turned from champs to chumps. But again, that's Philly. So let's go back to that time capsule. Boop, boop. Let's go back to last Saturday. So Philly lost the World Series. Philadelphia Union lost the Cup, the MLS Cup, 1-0 in penalty kicks. Not a fan of penalty kicks. So the Flyers are still doing good, but they're starting to falter. So Philly's turning back into Philly. And the 76ers World season just starts, so forget that. But let's talk about our teams. Our New York teams. And surprisingly, let's talk about our Jersey teams. And this came to my surprise. Well, in basketball, we got the Knicks and the Nets. Well, the Knicks are at around 500. Nets fired their coach, Steve Nash, after 2 seasons of nothing. Was going to hire the guy from Boston, but that wouldn't look good. So they hired their assistant Vaughn, which I thought was a smart move because he knows the team. So, they're basically around 500 too. Kyrie Irving, after saying those ridiculous remarks, but, yes, freedom of speech, blah, 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 but will they take him back? More than likely, but, some things you just keep to yourself, but you know what? That's either there or there. I'm not going to get political, so I'm not saying anything about it. Let's leave it as is. So they're both at 500. With the Knicks, give it time. The other day, the Knicks played the Nets, and they basically blew them out. I think the main reason why that was is because the night before, the Knicks went to Minnesota and actually blew out Minnesota, which surprised me. Julius Randle hit 8 3-pointers. So they came off of that. They came back to New York, and they weren't in it. They basically got their ass kicked by 30 or something like that. But I think the next time, and this is the 8th time in a row that the Nets beat the Knicks, so they're trying to make a statement out of it. So it's not much of a rivalry if you beat somebody 8 times in a row. Let's talk the hockey teams for a second. Okay, because I like to bet on my hockey. I like my hockey. So let's talk about hockey for a second. I know a lot of people don't bother, but I like to talk about it. So let's talk about why these teams are where they are. Let's talk about some of the players on the teams. Okay, let's talk about my Rangers. Right now they stand at 7-5-2. So that second or third place, coming off of a loss to the Islanders, which they blew a 2-0 lead. Came back last night and blew out Detroit 8-2. Islanders, coming off a 3-game winning streak, lost last night to Arizona 2-0, which is a surprise. Now here's the biggest surprise to me. Not a Devils fan, not an Islanders fan. I've been a Ranger fan since '79. So don't like either one of those teams. I probably hate the Islanders more than I hate the Devils because it's never really been a rivalry. But to my surprise, maybe not the two people that I know, Alex and Russ, that are Devil fans. One I knew was, the other one didn't realize was. To my surprise, I was looking in the paper to find out that the Devils, to my shock and surprise, are 11-3. Basically the best record in the in the NHL, if not the second best. Let's just check and see. Well, Vegas right now is at 12-2. So basically they have the second best record. Well, sorry, Boston. So right now, in the Eastern Conference, you have the Devils at 11-3, Boston at 12-2. Western Conference, you have the Las Vegas Knights at 12-2, and you have the Winnipeg Jets. Oh, this is a surprise. In first place at 8-3-1. Okay, so like I said, let's get back to that. Okay, so I sometimes I bet these things. They say, how can you bet hockey? Well, you could bet hockey. Just like in football, you could bet player props even in hockey. What do I mean by that? Well, you could pick the players, either points, assists, or goals, or power plays. What I mean by that is, like, say a team's on the power play. If you know anything about hockey, if somebody gets tripped up, they go into something called a penalty box. And usually it's 2 minutes. So that means for 2 minutes, the other team gets the man advantage. So there's 5 players on each team, not including the goalie. So it's 5-on-4. So in that 2 minutes, you have the advantage to score a goal. Now sometimes there's something called a shorthanded goal. Means the other team, the one that was penalized, they actually get the goal. They actually grab the puck, go down to the other ice, and they score. It happens once in a while. But let's talk about the Devils. There's only 2 players that I know, and there's one I usually do bet on. I started betting on them last year. This year I haven't touched it so much. But here's the only 2 players that I know. So for the other 2 people that I just mentioned, these are the only 2 players I know. Jack Hughes and Dougie Hamilton. Those are the 2 players that I would take if I were to bet on them. Now the Islanders, there's a couple more players. Some that I bet on, some that I don't. So I'm going to give you the list of those players. Anders Lee, who's the captain, Matthew Barzal, Brock Nelson, and J.P. Pajot. Those are the main guys. There's a couple more. Kylie Palmieri and I think Bullock or Pollock, I'm not sure. But those are the main guys that I would basically bet on. Now my Rangers, there's a lot. Being I follow them more. Okay, keep up with this one. Adam Fox, who's one of the best defensemen in the league, actually does score. I would mostly take assists with him because I don't know about goals. Zach Jones, who's a rookie. I wouldn't take him just yet, but he's on my radar. Vincent Trocheck, who they basically got from another team. He's doing good right now, so I would actually take him. Chris Kreider, who scored 50 goals last year. Uh, Panarin, Capo, and Zinvej and Vesey. There's so many. But my main ones are usually Panarin, Kreider, and Fox. But like I said, those three teams, it's early on. But with the Devils, they're the biggest surprise. So, go Devils. Okay, people, I got one other thing to talk about, and then we'll call it a day. Let's talk baseball for a second. Let's talk about the two highest price free agents that are out there. And to everybody, nobody's surprise, these are two New York teams. As you know, or if you didn't know, I'll tell you anyway, Aaron Judge is now a free agent. And on my Mets side, we have Jacob DeGrom, Tejan Walker, and Chris Bissett, free agents. Now, as far as Aaron Judge is concerned, well, there's not many teams that could afford him. So I look at it this way. It's basically the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Braves, and you're not gonna like what I say, people, next. The Boston Red Sox. Yes, people, you heard it. Now, you don't want that to happen, would you? No, 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 no. We don't want. I mean, I'm a Mets fan, but I know you Yankee fans out there wouldn't want to see number 99 on the Boston Red Sox. But money talks and bullshit walks. So I look at it this way, contract-wise. I would give him 10-year contract of 400 to 40 million to 45 million a year. Option year on your 9th and 10th year, because again, he'll be 38, so 36, 37, 8, whatever. And again, some teams can afford this, some teams cannot. I keep on hearing the Texas Rangers, but what money do they have, and why would you want to go there? You're never going to win a championship. But again, you're going to find out if he goes there just for the money, because they're not going to win a championship. Jacob DeGrom, let's talk about him. He's older. He's 34. So I would give him a 3-year deal worth 135 million, which is 45 million a year, a little bit more than Schwarzer, and option on his 4th or 5th year. Because by then he'll be 37, 38. By the end of his contract, will be almost 40. And for the past 2 years, he's had injuries. Now, I've heard again, he's a Texas guy, so you're talking Texas or Atlanta or even the Dodgers. If they don't sign Kershaw, maybe they might be looking at him. Now, Mets fans, you don't want him to be a Brave. That's for damn sure. A Dodger, wouldn't like it either. But that's basically what you have to offer these two guys. If they don't take it, well, bye. Now, as far as my Mets with the other two pitchers, you got Carrasco. Walker was good this year. Bassett wasn't bad. If you can keep them, I don't know what you would pay them. But the best thing they did was sign Diaz. Yeah, they signed Diaz to a what was it? 5-year deal, over 105, almost $105 million. First reliever, they get paid over $20 million, but That was the best thing they ever did. So now at least you know you got a reliever for the next 5 years, which the Mets haven't had a solid one in a good while. So that was good because he had one of the best seasons. His ERA was under 2, 32 saves, and ERA of 1.31. So yeah, at least you got him down for the next 5 years. So let's talk about talking about the Red Sox. So I see here that Devers and Bogarts are far apart on their deals with the Red Sox. Now, Red Sox, you don't have much of a team, but you better keep these two guys. I don't know what they're asking for, but you better keep them. Now, Carlos Correa, who Houston fans who know, he left Houston to go to Minnesota, I guess for the money, because again, he won a championship already. That's the way I look at most players these days. You don't have any lifers these days. You know, Altuve might maybe be the only one. I don't know, but it's very rare that a player stays as long with a team throughout his whole career in any sport these days. So it's rarity. But I heard that they're talking about him going to the Dodgers. Now the Dodgers hate Houston, and they're not a fan of Correa or anybody else at Houston, so I don't see that happening. But you know what? Who knows? We'll see what happens. But so that's it, folks. So hopefully you do that. But like I said, even if you're not a college fan, make sure to check TCU playing Texas. It's going to be a good game. All right, folks. Have a nice weekend.